Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Planning Committee. I'm Liz Shell, Chair of the committee. Councillor Neal on my left is Vice Chair, Councillor McLaren, Councillor Osanek, and Councillor Allen. We're not all here. Who's missing? Oh, Councillor Turner. She's often a little bit late from work. And we have various members of staff, our clerk, Derek O'Shea, Manager Vendetti, Planner Sands, and Planner Wicca. I think this is the first time you've had a file here. Yes, you were with the accessibility, but welcome. And I have a standard notice of collection speech. Personal information collected as a result of this public hearing and on the forms provided at the back of the room is collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments may be collected and may form part of the minutes, which will be available to the public. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the Director of Planning, Building, and Licensing Services. The purpose of public meetings is to present planning applications in a public forum as required by the Planning Act. Following presentations by the applicant, committee members will be afforded an opportunity to ask questions for clarification or further information. The meeting will then be opened to the public for comments and questions. Interested persons are requested to give their name and address for recording in the minutes. There is also a sign-in sheet for interested members of the public at the back of the room. No decisions are made at public meetings concerning applications unless otherwise noted. The public meeting is held to gather public opinion. Exemption to this rule is outlined in Bylaw number 2006-75 to delegate various planning approvals to staff and to adopt certain procedures for the processing of planning applications subject to delegated authority. Council has authorized staff to use discretion in determining if an application can be a combined public meeting, comprehensive report to expedite the approval process. We do have a combined public meeting comprehensive report for a zoning bylaw amendment to 27 Pine Street. A decision will be made at the regular portion of the Planning Committee meeting tonight. Information gathered at public meetings is then referred back to Planning, Building, and Licensing Services staff for the preparation of a comprehensive report and recommendation to Planning Committee. This means that after the meeting tonight, staff will be considering the comments made by the public in their further review of the applications. When this review is completed, a report will be prepared making a recommendation for action to this committee. The recommendation is typically to approve or to deny. This committee then makes a recommendation on the applications to City Council. City Council has the final say on the applications from the city's perspective. Following council decision, notice will be circulated in accordance with the Planning Act, and anyone with an interest in the matter may file an appeal. Interested persons are advised that if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Municipal Board unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. And with that, I will open our first public meeting, which is application for zoning bylaw amendment 39 Churchill Street. And Mr. Keane will be presenting.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Committee, staff, and members of the public. My name is Mike Keane, and I'm a land use planner with Foten Consultants, and I'm here to present to you a zoning bylaw amendment for 39 Churchill. So this is an application that's in Portsmouth Village, and what you can see from the map in front of you is all of the landmark features in this neighborhood. Everything from schools and theaters to parks and places of worship, and you can see, roughly where this property is located. Moving in a little closer, it's the site of a former single detached dwelling, and a couple of years ago, a severance was done that enlarged this property and allowed a semi-detached dwelling to be built. And that semi-detached dwelling is presently under construction. Photos may be a couple weeks older than what's going on right now. So the application before the committee tonight is to request secondary suites within each half of the semi-detached dwelling. And in addition to that, it would be so that the semi-detached dwelling could eventually be severed. In terms of the proposal itself, the changes would all be interior. There's no change to the building that's presently under construction. And there would be a number of specific zoning provisions needed to recognize the ability to sever the lot. So in looking at this application, or rather this image before you, this is kind of showing the end proposal when the semi-detached unit is severed. And you can see a bunch of hatching, and the hatching represents easements that would essentially represent access, parking, and backyard amenity space for both of the dwellings. So even though they would become severed, the proposal would share these features together. So this is in an area in the official plan that's designated residential, and just quickly summarizing on some of the key principles of the official plan, which are supporting intensification, supporting secondary suites, and ultimately we're talking about a small scale intensification project in taking the semi and adding the basement units. So in terms of the zoning for this area, it is an A5 zoning, which is 1 and 2 family dwellings. And some of the amendments that are required are because of very specific provisions related to parking areas and driveway aisles. But the nice thing with starting with a new build, many of the key principles of the zoning bylaw are met because we were able to design accordingly. So such as basement, 50% above grade, as opposed to a unit that is deeper in the ground. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but obviously having full-size windows in a unit is certainly nicer. And the secondary suites themselves are designed to meet the other policy tests, such as less than 40% of the gross floor area. And in addition to that, they have to be less than 90 square meters. So you can see the proposal at the bottom there is 85 square meters and 36% of the gross floor area. So a little bit about the units. We always request our clients place a bedroom label on every unit that could be a bedroom unit. So in this case, this basement unit could have up to 3 bedrooms in it, and the unit that is above it could have up to 4 bedrooms in it. So left side, right side would be a total of 14 beds. So the zoning request is twofold. It's one, to request the secondary suites, and then the other part is all of these specific provisions, such as side yards and rear yards, and some of these are as a result of trying to draw a line down the middle. So with respect to the aggregate side yard, once we draw a party wall down the center, I have a 0 lot line, obviously, and the minimum side yard is supposed to be 1.2 meters, but the aggregate is supposed to be 3. So I have a 0 and I have a 1.6. So I'm exceeding the minimum, but the aggregate together would fail. So we need an amendment to address that common party wall and only having 1 side yard. And that would only apply to the side that does not have the driveway on it. There is a pinch point on the lot where we are acknowledging a shallower backyard of 3.9 meters. If I just go back to the image, this image shows it best. If I just move my cursor, basically there's a point on the lot because of its shape that is roughly 4 meters, but you can see that the overall depth is much greater than that, including kind of a rear amenity area as well. And then we're suggesting the minimum lot area be revised, And some of this depends on if the secondary unit is treated as a unit or not. We've taken the more conservative approach to our amendments. So a 2-unit dwelling in the A5 zone requires 740 square meters, and we're proposing the actual size of 373. The minimum lot width changes as well. The requirement is 15 meters, but when we draw the party wall, we have a little over 18 meters, so we've tried to split it equally at 9.1 and 9.1. Another interesting provision is the uncovered parking area in the rear yard. The general provisions require an area that's 30 square meters. We're providing 1 space for each unit, so 4 spaces in total, and that area will exceed 30 square meters. And also, because we have 4 cars, the bylaw would normally stipulate 1 lane in and 1 lane out, and we're proposing that a single lane is sufficient for the project. So in summary, it's our opinion that this represents good land use planning. It's minor intensification without changing the building footprint or scale. Certainly, it's a nice quality build that's proposed. Cement board siding, same developers that developed 705 King Street, if you're familiar with it. That's a finished product that is similar to this one. Very nice quality living. And it's consistent with the PPS, and specific zoning provisions would allow the proposed use that we've proposed. That concludes my presentation. I do have a few extra slides if there's more discussion desired on the specific zoning provisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I hear from staff, please?
Notice was provided in accordance with the Planning Act. Notice was delivered to 83 properties within 120 meters. And we have received 1 piece of correspondence on this.
Great, thank you. Questions from the committee? Councillor Neal.
Just very quickly, I know that there have been in the past some basement flooding issues in that immediate neighborhood. There aren't any capacity issues that were flagged at all, were there?
Who would like to answer that? Mr. Whitcomb?
Through you, Madam Chair. No, utilities didn't mark any particular concern with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to open this. Oh, sorry, Councillor Turner.
Thank you. To you, Madam Chair. Sorry I was late. My apologies. I have a quick question. The space behind the lot, is that a common area, or is that, or maybe you addressed that when I was...
No, I'm happy to readdress it for you.
Okay, thank you.
So this slide shows it best. Even though our proposal is ultimately to sever the home, the semi-detached, the hatched area that's both in the orange and the blue would be the common areas that would be shared by both properties. So in addition to the 7.5 meter front yards, they would each have a parking space, and then they would also both share that rear yard that's kind of down the path toward the back. I think so. That would be, this piece would be shared, all of this is kind of shared grass. And then also there's the 4 parking spaces that I'm kind of highlighting with my little hand, and then the shared driveway. And then this piece would allow this owner to walk across the front lawn without having to go all the way to the sidewalk and back up as well. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Now I'd like to open this to the members of the public. Mr. Dixon.
So, Frank Dixon, 495 Alfred, Apartment 2, K7K 4J4. Thank you for your presentation. I just had one question. Just looking at page 13 from the report, which shows similar to what you have there. And I'm just curious as to the number 39 slide, the unit on the left as being built now. Where exactly is the boundary of the building compared to the edge of the lot? Okay, like on your slide up there, you have the orange cutting in, and then you're heading over to the blue, right? So where is the building ending on the orange side on the left? I'm just curious about that. It doesn't seem, okay, so there is some space there in behind it, right? So, okay. Okay, I guess, okay with it. It is a little bit unconventional, but I think it'll work. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the public or the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. I will close this public meeting. And I will open our second public meeting. Application for zoning bylaw amendment, 27 Pine Street.
Great. Good evening, Madam Chair, members, staff. My name is Cam McDougall. I'm the owner of 27 Pine. This is a satellite view of the property on the corner. It's a little hard to detail, but you can see the roof line at the front, and then it extends back to a small garage down Cowdy. This is the current rear addition off the back of the main property. Essentially, what I'm looking to do is request permission to permit 2-dwelling unit on the property, reconstruct the rear addition, which is approximately 52 square meters, and increase the floor area by approximately 7.1 meters. The increase in the floor area relates to the rear porch being converted to habitable space, and then 1 parking spot per dwelling unit. So just to recap, that small area on the back where you can see the railing, there is a small roof on that. That will essentially be extended as part of the habitable space inside. A little tricky to see here, but essentially the plan on the left is our current and existing site layout. As you can see, there isn't a lot of change with a little more detail just on the rear addition there. There is a slight addition to align the building where that rear porch is. So if we just come back here, you can see the railing that terminates into the addition there is set back from the Cowdy Street wall there by about 2 feet. So I am looking to bring that edge and get a relief on the setback from Cowdy. In terms of the elevation drawings, you can sort of see I am going to change the roof line to a hip roof, but relatively speaking, it's the same footprint as what's there. So currently we are located in a 1-family, 2-family dwelling zone A. I'm requesting a change to a special 1-family, 2-family dwelling to allow for an additional single-bedroom unit. I need amendments to the zoning bylaw to permit and recognize the minimum lot area requirements for 2 units and minimum front yard setback along Cowdy Street, as I just detailed. The proposed front yard setback on Cowdy is consistent with the setback that is currently existing on the side of the property. As for parking, there will be a second spot added to the right side of the garage there, so that fence will be removed. There'll be a second spot that will serve as parking for the secondary suite, and the garage will serve as parking for the existing unit. Essentially, in conclusion, the requested zoning bylaw is appropriate and consistent with the provincial policy statement, City of Kingston official plan, and zoning bylaw number. Second dwelling unit will not alter the existing building form of the current property. The increase in floor area is consistent with the existing footprint, and as of now, there haven't been any concerns from any of the landlords in and around the area. Any questions?
Thank you. Could I hear from staff, please?
Certainly. Through you, Madam Chair, the application was noticed as per the requirements of the Planning Act, and that included circulation to 129 properties within the vicinity. And to date, there has been 0 pieces of public correspondence received.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Councillor Neal?
Just quickly, either to the proponent or to staff, will this addition be built to meet all of the building code standards for fireproofing, soundproofing, a secondary suite?
Yes, absolutely. So The pictures in my presentation don't reflect its current state, but we have done an extensive renovation on the front portion of the house with a proper building permit, and I have sort of aligned those renovations with my building inspector to essentially prep so that when we do the rear addition, everything will be brought up to current code standards and fire regulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions? Councillor Turner?
Can I make a comment? I'd like to say it's a really nice building, and you're doing a really nice job. That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And questions from the public? Mr. Dixon?
So thank you for your presentation. I used to live right across the street from this on the other side of County, so I know the area quite well.
Yep.
So I'm in favor of your proposal. I think it'll be an improvement to the property, and I think that the size of the property will be able to handle, the increased density. I just had one question. It is actually relatively a older neighborhood there, and I didn't see anything in the report as to the sort of age of the original building.
Sure.
And so I was just wondering if this could be like late 1800s, and there may be some heritage aspects to it, even though it probably isn't listed. So I guess what you're looking to do, though, doesn't impact the original house, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we're not heritage designated, but nothing's going to change the original footprint of the original quote unquote farmhouse that's there. I don't know, I guess I should have asked them all. I guess my point is that perhaps the report could contain something on the building history, and I didn't really see that in there in the staff report. Just given that it's a neighborhood that's being improved, right? There's been a lot of modifications to existing houses within the last few years, including the one that I lived in, right? So that's good. People are putting money into the properties and improving them, and you're doing the same. But I guess I would like to see something on the history of the building in the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Councillor Turner?
Can I ask staff if that is really necessary to have something like that put in a report?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. As part of all Planning Act applications, including this one, it was circulated to our Heritage Department and Heritage Planners. Typically, if a building is of heritage value and it's listed on a heritage a listed list, or it's designated under the Part 4 of the Heritage Act, it would be included in the report. So this subject property is not listed or designated, therefore there was no inclusion in this report, nor was it surrounding any listed or designated properties.
Okay, so thank you, and thank you, Frank, for asking and posing the question, and thank you for bringing this to our council tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I thank you for your presentation. And I will close this public meeting and begin the regular Planning Committee meeting and call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda. Councillor Osanek, second by Councillor Neal. All those in favor? That carries. And confirmation of the minutes of October 20th. Moved by Councillor Osanek, seconded by Councillor Allen. Errors, omissions, comments? All those in favor? Thank you, that's carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? And no delegations, but we do have a briefing from Mr. Wicca on Highway 15 class environment assessment. So we're actually going to do that one after. Okay, we'll do the first business. Yeah, yeah, sorry. So we will switch to the business portion. Part A, application for zoning bylaw amendment 27 Pine Street. And there is a recommendation from staff. Do I move by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Neal? Comments? All those in favor? There we go. Thank you very much. Yeah. Congratulations. Thank you. And now, Senior Planner Mr. Wicca will present on the Highway 15 Class Environmental Assessment Landscape Plan and Design Guidelines.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Committee. So this is a quick information report to give you a status update on a project that you are hopefully aware of. So first I'll go to some background. Highway 15 has been undergoing a class environmental assessment, which is intended to consider the current and future transportation needs, looking at all modes, pedestrian, cyclists, transit, and private vehicles. So this is something that's been undertaken partly coming out of the Transportation Master Plan due to some of the recent growth that we've seen in the area and also the expected growth that's going to take place there in coming years. So the study area is shown on the map. It goes from Highway 401 in the north down to Highway 2 along the entire length of the Highway 15 corridor there, and then from the LaSalle Causeway to Princess Mary Avenue in the east. So there was the first open house was held in November of 2015, and you can see on the screen some of the key themes that were coming out of that. Now, one of the elements that came out of the open house, something that was heard very clearly, was that there were concerns about the aesthetics along Highway 15. There was concern from residents that it be kept beautiful and that the heritage qualities of the corridor be preserved and carried forward. So a scope of work was expanded for the project, and that was in 2016. So coming out of that was a series of additional elements, one being a visioning workshop that took place in May 2016, and that was a number of different stakeholders. It was key members of the public and Councillor Bohm and a number of city staff and other stakeholders. And the results that came out of that were then presented at the next public open house that was held in June, and we received further feedback after that. So some of the information or the ideas coming out of that, the visioning workshop, are seen on the screen there. So the notion of having future development incorporate context-sensitive design, incorporating choice and safety, sense of arrival, gateways, etc., or just having that sense of character of place, and the last one there, the sense of place, giving people the notion that Highway 15 is different and special from other places. Those were some of the themes that came out of that workshop. So again, this was presented at the public open house. The two maps that you see there, one shows the existing character areas that were identified from the public and by the consultant team, and then there were a number of potential landscape character areas, including areas where interventions are anticipated in the future. And there was another panel that had a number of photographs to kind of prompt people in terms of indicating what kind of landscape they would like to see along Highway 15, what elements they want to see changed, what elements they want to see preserved. So our next steps are that right now we are reviewing a set of draft design guidelines, and we're also seeing the creation of a landscape plan that's specifically targeting different areas along the Highway 15 corridor that are deemed most due attention. And so that's going to be shown at this next public open house, which we're anticipating in early 2017. That's it. Do you have any questions?
Are there questions from the committee? Councillor Neal.
Just one very quick comment. And it isn't within the scope of this study, I realize, but Councillor Schell and Councillor Osanek will remember a wonderful dinner that we had early in 2011 with the commander at CFB Kingston. And he had a very, very good idea, I thought, which was if the federal government could give them funding on the base, they could have the primary entrance and exit on a northwest route if the city was willing and able to take over and complete that roadway to the number 15 exit. And traffic-wise, I thought that was a brilliant idea. And I see a few nodding heads here. I did send an email to our MPP, our MP, and the mayor, seeing if it was possible to resurrect that idea. I think that would greatly reduce the flow of traffic on both number 2 and number 15. And I just kind of give you that as a heads up, because it would be great if we could do that. It would make that, it would relieve a lot of the traffic woes in that corridor. So thank you. Not that it needs any comment, but just a heads up.
I can provide comment if you like. Through you, Madam Chair. I know that my colleagues in engineering have talked numerous times with the folks at CFP Kingston, and I'll certainly pass on your comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Since you brought it up, I'll echo that. That would have been a great, sounds like a great idea. Councillor Osanek?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if this question is for this briefing or the next briefing, but when do we find out, like, when's the decision going to be made about a roundabout at Highway 2 and number 15?
Through you, Madam Chair. The preferred option is being advanced at the next open house. So at the last open house, they showed a number of different possibilities, one of which was a roundabout, as you may have seen. And so right now they're undergoing a number of technical studies, trying to figure out how everything will work together. And it's my understanding that the preferred concept will be advanced then. And then there will be an opportunity further after that when a final concept is brought to council to see what's anticipated as being implementable.
Thanks. And so there's another public meeting, it said in the fall of 2016. So that will happen before Christmas?
Through you, Madam Chair, the date for the next public open house was revised from between the time that I provided the report and this presentation. It's anticipated now in early 2017.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your presentation. Great. And that concludes the business portion of the meeting. There are no motions, notices of motions, other business. We did have one piece of correspondence on our addendum. Next meeting, November 17th. That's promised to be a big one.
Could I ask a
Councillor
very
Neil?
quick question of staff
Sure.
under other business? I want to thank you for the abeyance list. I know I brought this up before, and I did give a heads up to Ms. Vendetti about this. We have some, at the very top of the abeyance list, we have a couple of properties that in 2010 were given notices that they were in non-compliance with zoning. They have an opportunity to stop that prosecution, if you will, if they do a zoning application. Both these owners have done a zoning application, but refused to complete that process. And so for 6 years, they've been in non-compliance, renting units that are not in compliance with the existing zoning. They do have a zoning application in, but as I understand it, they haven't completed that process. Is there any way that we can light a fire under these developers and get them into compliance?
Through you, we have been following up with them recently. So in practice, the planning division closes files after 5 years with inactivity or no decision being made on a file. In both of these instances, every time staff have gone back and said, your file's been inactive for a certain period of time, a submission trickles in, which sort of reactivates the file, so the files haven't been closed. I can tell you that in both situations at this point, we have followed up with the property owners recently and said, you need to advance these applications or we will be pursuing prosecution based on the zoning infractions. We do need to work more closely with legal and come up with some better mechanisms in terms of the enforcement and files sitting for a period of time. So absolutely, I agree with you that we need to follow up on these files and get them moving again. And given the time frame that's gone on since public meetings and different things, they likely need to go through the entire process. So we are working on it. We just don't have that solution right now. But given the length of time that these properties have been sitting in abeyance, we will be proceeding with either enforcement or getting those files finalized, and we're giving them a time frame in which to do so at this point.
I appreciate that because it's really in their favor not to do anything because they're collecting rents on illegal units for 6 years. And somehow the system seems flawed if that's allowed. So, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Counselor McLaren, seconded by Counselor Allen. All those in favor? Thank you. And that carries.